Welcome to Punch Keys Podcast. I'm Poppy Minnix, your co-host, bringing you blunt talk for the fiction novelist.
And I'm Cass Kay, your other writerly co-host. If you love to ramble about writing and need a tribe, you found us.
Are you ready? We're uncorking now. Let's talk about punching those keys.
I pushed the button.
You're on, Emmy.
Oh, I am. Okay, do we have to do silence first?
We do whatever we want.
Silence? Do we do 30 seconds of silence? Or
No, you can do whatever the hell you want to.
I mean,
Nothing?
if you need to, or like we remembering someone.
We need to get one of those movie snapper thingies.
That'd be so fun, a director's cut.
Yes.
And go.
Is this like 30 seconds of silence to remember all of those who failed, but we will succeed?
Okay, that's a little dark, but sure. Let's do that.
You're welcome.
Let's remember failures past. Thanks, Ghost Marley. Okay.
Okay.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is your host, Imogen Keeper, and you can call me Immy. Guess what time it is? It's Punch Keys time. And yeah, you heard that right. I didn't misspeak. I'm Immy. This is Punch Keys, and you are in the right place. I stole the podcast. Don't worry, your usual hosts are totally fine, and they're here, I promise. I didn't actually steal it. I won it fair and square in a contest by getting the most Twitter likes for posting a question to their Poppy Wars. So for this week only, the podcast is mine. Ha 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 ha. The topic tonight is the upcoming release of the astounding, sensational Holiday Hotel by none other than our Poppy Minnix, in which the delightful Cosette escapes a bunk relationship in the States and journeys to the tropics of Simona Island, where you meet sexy beach hunk Nico, the secret owner of the hotel she stays at. It's hilarious. It's heartwarming. It's a perfect Christmas rom-com with palm trees and antics and an island you'll be desperate to visit. And we are going to talk about it all right now. But first, I'd like to take a minute to introduce you to these visitors on my Purloined podcast, these stupendous women we usually call hosts. I've gotten to know them well in our year and a half that we've been writing together, and they are some seriously special people. So allow me to introduce Cass first. Cass has had a huge life full of experiences. She's acted on the stage. She has a background in journalism. She's worked in marketing. She did a stint for an online paper where she wrote articles matching DC characters to Marvel. I cannot make this up if I tried. She has waitressed. She's bartended. She's floristed. Not sure that's a verb, but we're going to roll with it. She has been a dental assistant and a shipping dock manager. And I kid you not, she can work a forklift like no other. None of that can hold a candle, however, to her lifelong devotion to the creation of stories. And I can say, as someone who's read her at work, she has a unique ability to tap into the heart of the characters she's created, as well as an extremely playful approach to her world building and scenery. We are in good hands here at Punch Keys with Cass guiding our interviewees. This week, however, we are totally screwed. Sorry. So Cass, welcome to your own podcast. Thanks for coming.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Can you untie me now? This duct tape is really tight.
No, the zip ties are staying and the duct tape too. You're not getting free.
Damn it.
You're stuck.
All right. Well, it's all yours then. That was a beautiful introduction. Thank you.
Yay. And for the star of the show this week, Punch Key's own Poppy Minnix. This woman, Poppy, has done everything. I'm not even kidding you. From dog walking to grooming, roller derby, singing, literally, she was the leader of a band. So she's a rock star, the chef to small humans currently, bartending, waitressing, commercial furniture salesperson, organizer of corporate events, and photographer. Poppy is a true chameleon, seemingly capable of wearing literally any hat. And when it comes to writing, Poppy is the writer of the divine My Song's Curse, which one reviewer called a rich world that will wrap around a reader's senses and draw them in. And I can completely concur. It's true. The world building, the voice, it's all on point, and I believe anyone will fall in love with Lula inside 6.5 seconds as soon as they read the first line, being a siren sucks. It definitely doesn't suck, however, to read about it. And more recently, she's been hard at work on her RomCom series, which takes place on the fictitious Simona Island, home of billionaires, aromacologists, and so much more. And that is why we are here today, to discuss this magical place and this magical story. So welcome to your own podcast, Poppy Minnix, and congratulations on the release of this spectacular book.
Thank you. Thank you, wonderful host of Punch Keys Podcast. Gosh, we truly
Sorry,
appreciate it.
that.
Emmy,
That is the
we're
best
so
thing.
glad you're here. So thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here. It's my podcast. Remember
It's
that.
true. Thank you for having me on your podcast. I appreciate it tremendously. Thank you.
Man, what
You're
an
welcome.
opportunity for you, Poppy, to be on Punch Keys. Man,
know.
you are lucky that Emmy
I
let you on.
know.
So, the main character of your story, her name is Cosette, and she totally stole my heart. Can you tell us what the muse's process was with that one? How did she begin?
Oh my goodness. It was such a weird time when I started writing Holiday Hotel. I had just come off of the holidays and I was in the middle of a really hard ending to the second book of the duology that I have in paranormal romance. And it was really tough. I am one of those people where I like to write really dark things sometimes, and then also super light, funny things sometimes. I just like the chaos of both. I just think they're fantastic. And I didn't expect to write it. It was January, and January sucks. We all know that right after the holidays, January is like gray. It's no fun. It's just like the holiday decorations are down and everything is gray and stupid and it's cold. And so
It's the armpit.
it is the armpit of the year. It is just not so great. I was still like, I'm not ready to let Christmas go. Not ready to let it go. I am sitting in this super dark, terrible scene. And like, I'm not ready to have the Christmas lights go down. And Christmas curses started coming to me and cozy started coming to me. And this world where I'm like, this girl's just got to get away. And that's how it started, is she's got a boyfriend that just doesn't fit and she's got to go. And so she runs off to Simona Island to have Christmas by herself. And she just is glitter, sparkles, Christmas cheer. It's fantastic.
Normally doing interviews, you like always let the person that you're interviewing talk and you never jump in and you never but Poppy is business lead married to me. So I get to jump in and add a little bit of stuff and crash every once in a while. And I remember when you were working on this book, I remember you're like, oh, I'm just going to do a chapter. That'll get it out of my system. Okay, just a couple more chapters that'll get out of my system. I have to finish the edits for My Song's Gift, which is the second to her duology. She's like, I have to finish that. That has to go out. Okay, it won't stop. I just need one more chapter. And I kid you not, like 5 weeks later, she had a full first draft.
I did. It poured out with no complaint. It was like, here you go.
When it's right. When it's right, it's right.
So gorgeous.
Yeah, okay. It was one of those that just came to fruition without me even realizing what it was. I was like, I just need to just get some Christmas cheer from the holidays out. I gotta just, and it was like, oh, just kidding. Here's a novel.
It was the best.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah, and it was one of those I couldn't force myself to continue in this dark, drab world in January right after the holidays. I literally couldn't handle it with my edits, and this was the this was the foil to my dark times.
Did Cozy change at all as you wrote her, or was she always as joyous and vibrant as she was at the beginning?
She was always as joyous and vibrant as she was in the beginning. I didn't do almost any edits to her.
Awesome.
Her voice is her voice. It just came out. I didn't really up that any. It just popped out that way.
I think you actually were told to cut back on some of the Christmas swears, weren't you?
I was. I had to just, I had to glean a few of my Christmas curses away so they didn't go overboard. But man, were they fun.
I wonder if they're kind of like nicknames. You know how in a novel you like start to get annoyed if someone has a nickname for a character that they use like every single time. It's like as a reader you start to be like, ugh.
Yes. I think it was kind of like that. It's like, let's make them shine by making them, unusual pops instead of like all the time.
Strategic.
It is strategic. So yes, that definitely, that was a thing. But she's always been that hyper joy person.
She's wonderful. And so is the island. How did the island come into fruition?
Island was really interesting because I didn't expect it to become what it became. That started out, it was about Cozy and her escape, and she's just going to a tropical island. It's fine. And so Simona Island came because it's in the Caribbean, right? And so I wanted it to sort of be like, where is it in the Caribbean? And I've only been to like one place in the Caribbean. And so like, I don't know a whole lot about it. And I didn't want to be like, this is exactly where it's at because I haven't been there. And so I didn't want to make it too distinct. I wanted to make it a little bit generic. And by doing that, I created a private island to make it where I can be like, you know what? I have my own culture. I have my own stuff here. Like, yes, it's in the Caribbean. And I wanted a really diverse cast because I think that's important when you're in the Caribbean, because that is one of the things I loved so much about visiting when I was able to go to the Caribbean, is that there's just such a beautiful breath of life of people. It's just amazing. So I wanted all of that. And I didn't want to be held to a, you know, she's clearly never been there because she doesn't know this landmark. And so I just was like, you know what, heck with landmarks, I'm going to make an island. So I did. And it, you know, book one is in the hotel. So that's where it's at. And then it sort of expanded after that.
That's awesome though. And it feels real. Like your hard work really did pay off with that, because it's you can feel it, like each new place that they go and when the reveals happen for how the island came into being and where it got its name is really cool. So
it's been really fun, and it took a lot of brainstorming and some research and stuff to sort of figure out where this was located, how big a private island would be to support how many people, what this sort of life would be like, you know, like this all took research, and it took things, even though it's completely made up, it still took a whole lot of, you know, talking about it with people and trying to figure out what would this be like if you have like a hospitality based island. But it's been really fun. And the more that I write in it, the more I learn about it.
Okay. So you have now finished Holiday Hotel book one, but you have also finished the second book, which is, you're editing it, but like it is done and pretty close to dusted, right? And you're already starting to work on the third.
Yes.
So you now have some serious experience under your belt with series writing. Are there any lessons you've learned, any ways that your process has changed as you go through that?
I never, ever thought I would write a synopsis before I wrote a book. And that is what I do now. That has helped me out tremendously, as much as I hate it. Because, you know, I don't know how many authors are like, I love doing synopsis. It's my favorite. It's where you have to go through and you take your book and you dwindle it down to 1 or 2 pages. And it's like, sure, yeah, I'll just do that. And it's really, really hard. And so being able to do that has been really helpful for me, even if I don't follow it, because I think I'm solidly a plantser. I like to say that I plot, and I do, but it's not necessarily going to get followed. Some things are going to drop away. Some things are going to become stronger. I tend to overcomplicate stuff from the beginning, and people are like, dude, you got a lot of lines going on here. And I'm like, oh, I do have quite a few plot lines, and I probably need to dwindle those down. So for me, being able to put them all out, I'm like a barfer of information in my first couple chapters. I'm like, here's everything I know about this character ever. I do that, and then I have to go and edit the heck out of it. It's kind of that way for a series as well, and for doing each one. And so I think the thing that I've learned the most about series writing so far is, number one, Simona Island didn't start out as a series. Holiday Hotel was completely a standalone. It was my single holiday, oops, I did a book kind of book, right? So I handed over, I'm like, here you go. Do you want it? And the editor's like, yeah, I want it. This is great. This is awesome. Give me more. And I go, excuse me? And she's like, yeah, this needs to be a series. So get on that. And I'm like, I didn't expect that. And so I come to my writers group and go, oh crap, what do I do? It's a series now. Oh my God. And so I have to think about that. You know how you always are as a writer. I feel like there's this constant like fear that the ideas are going to run out and the well is going to run dry and you're never going to have it again. That is not the case, because it was like, okay, now that I had this initial shock of like, oh my God, she wants a series. Then it was, okay, I got to plan a series. Okay, what can I do for book 2? What are the characters in book 1 that I have that can carry on to book 2? And so now that I've started trying to figure out this whole series thing, I think it comes with sort of having an idea of what's going to happen with your second book. And then once your first book gets picked up and once it starts getting into the editing process, do the draft of your second book, because you learn about your first book when you write your second book, if they are interlinking in any way. And these are both standalones. You know, it's not, each one of these books is going to be a standalone, but right now I have in the works, it's going to be 5. And then now I think it's going to be 6 books, but nonetheless, it is just, It's one of those things that grows and changes. You have to be adaptable. Cass is giving me the yeah sign because she knows exactly what character I'm talking about.
I won! I get her! I wanted her story.
You did. It was going to be a short story, and now I think it's going to be a full freaking novel. Yes. Nonetheless, the ideas do not dry up. Somebody gives you the idea of being like, this should be a series, and you're like, how am I going to do that? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's how I'm going to do it. And so in, a week, all of a sudden I had these concept drawings of 5 books. And I'm like, oh my God, this is how my series is going to go. Oh my God, this is how my series is going to, I have a series. This is crazy. And then I started writing down my synopsis for my second book and my third book. And then that really sort of got things rolling. And then I started drafting the second book. As we're going through my second edits, I'm adding stuff in that's happening in the second book to link to it because it's in like an interlinking standalone series, and it's really grown the heck out of the world. Now I have a map. Now I have like these little quirky places around the island because every island has quirky places that you go to, and like they have local stuff. And so I'm learning more and more about the series as I go. So that's kind of what I've learned about series is that while you might just write one book and that's perfectly fine and that's great and that's fantastic. But if somebody asks you to make it a series, it can totally happen. And then go ahead and try to draft that second book and have that done by time your edits are going for your first book so that you can add in what you need to link them. There'll be times when you get in, because I did this with my first series as well, where I wrote the second series, but the first book was almost entirely out. And I'm like, crap, I should have added that. Oh, I should have added that too. I can't do it now because it's already out. Dang it. And so it's just a matter of timing and trying to figure out your balance and how you can juggle everything to where it links and works.
There's also that lag time where like your editor has the book and you're waiting on the book and your brain wants to go tinker in the manuscript and you're like, I can't tinker. And so that is a good thing to distract yourself by moving on to the next one. You talked about synopsis sort of briefly and how you feel like that changed the game for you. Is there something specific you do as you work the synopsis before you start drafting anything that you think is especially helpful, like some part of the book or an arc or a plot line that you specifically probe as you create that synopsis that changes your writing game?
Oddly enough, for me, it was like last names of my characters because it started leading to all of this world building that I didn't expect. Being able to just name everybody and make them real and have in other characters. And as I'm writing the synopsis and going through these like little mini chapters, because that's kind of what a synopsis is, right? Take 2-3 lines from each chapter and then you just put it all out there and then you think about it and then you make it all pretty and put it together into this lovely 1 to 2 page thing. And so for the synopsis, that's what I did. And so I started putting everything, I named everybody and I'm like, well, like that's out of the way. Thank goodness. Because sometimes I'll get to somebody and be like, oh, what's their name? It'll be chapter 5. And I'll be like, oh crap. I don't know. I'm stuck. Oh no. And so I know some of my weird hangups.
They're horrible. I love them so much. I'll stop making faces.
Yes, I know.
It's like the most adorable like writing.
I'm so glad because it's kind of nutty, but whatever. It's fine.
Every time we have like a naming episode, you're like, yay! I'm like,
I know. I was like ecstatic about naming. I just love to name things. So I have an issue. It's a good issue, but it's an issue nonetheless. So it was really
Please keep it.
It was really nice to get everybody's names out. It was really nice to get out plot points per chapter and to kind of figure out exactly where it was going to go. It sort of hit that and it's not exact. And so I'm very interested now because I haven't looked at my synopsis for a while because I abandoned it at one point and I'm like, this is what it is now. And it sort of has contorted itself and poked itself into place. And I've dropped characters and I've added them and everything else. But what's really nice is that writing synopsis sucks. I mean, like it's one of my least favorite things as a writer to do. I just hate it. And so doing it first, it's out of the way now. And so I have like this synopsis now that when I end the book, I don't have to worry about condensing the whole thing down to this 1 or 2 pages. I already have it. I just need to tweak it and fix it. And then it's done. And so it's like, holy crap, that was so easy. And so for me, that has really upped my game because now I know what I'm doing. I have an idea about it. If I can look at it on paper, I can be like, hey, wait a minute. That seems kind of weird for a plot point. That fight isn't going to work out. Maybe I should do this. So it's definitely a different almost form of plotting for me. And I don't always stick with it, but it definitely helps to look at it condensed down in a tiny piece of paper.
Do you know the theme, the character arc, the emotional state, and like the turning point for each chapter or plot beat in that synopsis? Like, how much are you thinking it through? Are you like experiencing the novel as you write the synopsis in each step, or are you putting something down that you feel is malleable?
I am a malleable, here's my bare bones, this is sort of what the plot is about kind of synopsis writer if I'm doing it first off. Then I realize, then I get to know my characters and realize that there's more to them than this sticks and frame appeal. And so I end up adding more things to them, and some of their stuff sort of shifts as we go. Theme, I have never had a good time about being like, I'm going to write a book with this theme. That is not me. I'm not that person. I usually end up, somebody's like, oh my God, your theme was so strong with this. And I'm like, it was? What was it? Can you tell me? That'd be great. And sometimes I do know it. After reading to the end of Holiday Hotel, and once I got there, I knew what the theme was. It was so prevalent. It was such a part of Cosette and Nico. And then it's kind of changed and altered in book 2, which I didn't expect. I thought it was something completely different, but I really like how it has come out. So I think with theme for me is one of my wishy-washy things. And it's something that I think about in my second and third drafts. And after I have beta readers who tell me that this is what really hit for them. And I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense. So I've never been like a plot beat person who can plot out a chapter. I am like a full overall general novel person to kind of plot out little itty bitty beats. And then it just, or I say chapters, not even beats. And then it just works out. So I've tried to plot quite a few things, and then I end up abandoning them once I start writing, which is not a problem, which I think is what makes me a plantser. It's not something I'm going to stick with through the end, and that's okay. It works for me, and it helps me and gets me started and gets me unstuck, because if there's a time where I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen, I do know what's going to happen to an extent. It might alter a little bit, but I kind of know the general idea of where I'm going to go from the start to the finish. Like, I know what's going to happen in the end, and that helps me throughout.
So you mentioned Holiday Hotel and the theme. Look at me. I'm segueing like Cass. I feel so effing smart right now.
And the synopsis segue was so good, too.
Good job.
Yay.
You were owning this odd podcast, Emmy. Well done.
I stole it, but I'm mimicking Cass.
No, you're doing Emmy. You're rocking Emmy.
You're doing a great job.
But you mentioned theme and how someone points it out to you, or it comes in a later draft, or it's something that maybe comes up during discussion with your writing friends. But I feel like Holiday Hotel has a really clear theme. And there's like a thing with romance novels where the queen of romance basically was like, sorry guys, but your theme is always the same. And it's always love conquers everything. Right. And like, you can do what you want with your romance novel, but like, that's your theme. Anything else can be a secondary theme. You're welcome to explore secondary themes, but your theme is that one main one. But yours really does have, I mean, a serious secondary theme to that main one, because it's definitely, I mean, love conquers all in your story and it's beautiful, but you really do have a really strong theme for that story. So can we talk, are we allowed to talk about the theme?
Sure. I'm a little concerned that I'm really hoping that my theme, the idea is the same as your idea. Because that would be
quiz.
Hilarious.
Wait, quiz.
Show me yours first. And then I'll show
me first.
No, she's going to change hers. No, I don't trust her. She's going to change
She's the author and it's her novel. So she has the whole
No,
quiz.
I know mine. Okay, I'm not going first.
Okay.
No, it's my podcast. I stole it. I took it. I'm a cat burglar. I make the rules.
So my theme, my secondary theme, fine, besides love conquers all, obviously, is that it's okay to let a bad relationship go, and it doesn't. All right,
sorry, that was
and it doesn't mean that somebody is a bad person for a relationship not to work. That's kind of my theme-ish things. Is that right? What do you think?
Yes, that's what I got so much from this story, that she's in this like awkward relationship that isn't ideal, but he's not a monster. You know, I mean, this is a rom-com. He's not an abusive, and like, nothing against novels that start with women who are in abusive relationships. They happen and we need those novels. But this is not a story about a woman who is overcoming an abusive situation. She's a woman who is not getting what she needs out of her relationship. The man is not hurting her in any way, particularly, but he is not meeting her needs on an emotional and intellectual level. And it's just the way you do it is so good. I love it.
I'm so glad. If you go out and you have friends that are in relationships and stuff like that, you always have that couple that it's like, why are they together? Or, oh my gosh, you're changing yourself to be what they need. And it really makes me sad when somebody feels like they have to change themselves in order to fit into a relationship. And it shouldn't be that hard. When people tell me, relationships are just hard and you just really have to work. You just have to work hard. I'm like, but do you? It was that release for Cosette to be able to let that go, where she had been trying so hard to make something work. And it's not that the person she was with was a bad person. She just didn't fit. And it was one of those realizations. And I really enjoyed playing with that theme. I really enjoyed a lot of that, and a lot of the early draft things that I had. I did cut a few chapters of the breakup and like the certain things where it was almost a chick lit when I first wrote it. And then I realized that it needed to be more romance instead of more chick lit, because it was very much about her realizing that this just wasn't right for her, because she was just altering herself in order to fit into this space that he was so prominent in. And it was difficult. He wasn't mean. He wasn't bad. He just was him. And she was trying to be something that fit him. And that was really hard. And I really wish more people would understand that that's not necessarily a requirement for a relationship. It shouldn't be so very, very difficult.
She wasn't just trying to be what his ideal was. She was also trying to get him to meet her on a level that he just wasn't capable of meeting her.
Exactly. He did not have her level of zaniness. It was awkward for him. And it was just awkward for both of them. They were just awkward.
Embarrassing. It was embarrassing for both of them, which is like so relatable on a human level.
Some people just don't fit, and that's okay. And I think it was that moment of, you just sort of realize sometimes just stuff doesn't work out. And so she needed somebody that fit her. And that's where this all began. And that's where the theme came in. That's where I really wanted to kind of show. I feel like I needed that. It could have been all about, Nico and Cozy. It could have been, but instead I started it out to kind of, because I really wanted that part in there of like, this was the before, this was what was happening for her in order for her to change and for her to be herself, not even change, but change into herself. She needed to be able to let that part go.
Self-acceptance. She needed to have a chance to appreciate the gifts she has to offer the world that had been stifled.
And she needs somebody to appreciate those gifts that she has.
Yes.
Yeah. Because people will. I mean, there is someone for everybody. It's not this world of like, I have to mold myself to make sure I fit in, it's be you. And then somebody else is going to appreciate that. You just need to find those people.
So on the topic of like finding your person and being you are a master at creating couples and creating the need inside of one that is the puzzle piece that satisfies the other one. How does it work for you when you first start to envision the couple? Like, is there a process you have to creating that dynamic?
That's something to really, really think about, because it's like, what makes somebody fit? What does make somebody match another person? And I think in order to have that, I think you find out the most about yourself when you understand your weaknesses. And so my process is, and this book helped me so much realize this, was you need to find out what doesn't work for somebody in order to find what does. So for Cosette, she needed somebody who paid attention and somebody who appreciated this side of her that was just zany, outgoing. She does ridiculous, beautiful things. She's a glitter bomb, and she needs somebody to appreciate the fact that that is the case. And so if there's somebody that doesn't, you think about like the absolute opposite of what would appreciate those parts. And that's what Nico is. He's the negative photograph of James. So I really had to wrap my head around what is a bad match for her? What doesn't work for you in a friendship? What doesn't work in a level that is much, much deeper? Like, what is your soul need to be appreciated, to flourish? What do you need to flourish? Everybody should be accepted for who they are and not have to change or hold back. I think that's the case in trying to find relationships, either whether it be friendship or whether it be these side characters, but finding those kind of matches that are not exact. I think that's such a You try to find somebody, you're like, they're just like me. That's perfect. But is it? You can have opposites attract and it totally functions. And so I think that's the biggest thing about like couples and relationships and side characters is being able to figure out how can they accept each other? It might not work. They might be like totally butting heads all the time. Does that work for them? Maybe that's okay. Maybe it's okay for them to be like, you're a dick. Well, guess what? So are you. And it's like, all right.
And I want yours.
Sorry. All right, romance writer.
No, I know. I'm sorry. It's especially interesting with Holiday Hotel because you have her start with James, who is, for a lot of intents and purposes, her opposite, in some ways at least, or he's not satisfying needs. But then she meets Nico, who has his own past and his own wounds, and they're pretty extensive. It would have been an easy choice to put her with either an enemy and have her fight with them, or put her with a friend who was exactly the same as her. But instead you did something really, I think, kind of unique. You put her with someone who's neither. He's not quite the same exact joy seeker that I think of Cozy as being, but he's definitely not like grim and practical like James was. He's his own egg, but Cozy answers the question that he's asking, that she's asking her own question and he's giving the answer, but she brings something new out of him. It's very much mutual. It's cool. How did you create that, or did you have a strategy?
I don't know if I can say that I had a strategy on that one or not. I mean, he needed a bit of a dark past. I think that she needed to be a light for him as much as she needed someone who could appreciate her light. And it's not all about her, obviously. I mean, he has his own things and he needs her because he's got a past on him that he needed someone that would be able to accept it and not care about it. And at the same time, be positive and be able to accept and move along into this life, because sometimes you just have to accept crappy things that happen in your life. It's not one of those like, I'm going to get over it. And there's no getting over some things, but you need somebody that can accept that about you and be like, okay, we got this. We're going to do new things and we're going to go forth and we're going to conquer this world together. And that's what they are. And I love them for that. So that was really fun for me, was being able to kind of hone that equally need and acceptance between the two of them.
I love that. Absolutely. That I accept you just exactly as you are is like a major Darcy trope. Like my little love bug romance heart just swoons there. It doesn't get any better than that trope. What are some other tropes that you tried to lean into?
Oh man, I've really embraced the crap out of tropes lately. Like I love me some tropes. I do.
Talk about it.
Oh man, because tropes in romance, there are tropes in every single genre, right? But romance tropes. And I think only now we're becoming, because people are like, oh, it's so tropey. Oh, yay, it's so tropey because I know what I'm walking into. And so I've been really excited about the tropes that I've been playing with. So I have The Secretive Billionaire. I mean, that's just a really fun trope to play with, as somebody that doesn't want you to know they're a billionaire, but they're totally a billionaire. So like that is a romance trope that I can totally get behind and I really, really enjoy. I really enjoy a Christmas themed trope. It really frustrates the crap out of me when I pick up a Christmas novel and it's about winter. It's just set in winter. It makes me nuts.
Yes.
Give me freaking Christmas.
Not cool.
Yes.
Call it a blizzard one.
Yes. It's like, oh, great.
One.
It's in a cold area. Therefore, it's a Christmas novel. No, you lied.
Cheating. Nope, right? If there's no Christmas tree and presents, it's not real. Mm-mm.
And so this is Christmassy. It's Christmas all over the damn place. So I really enjoyed playing with that trope. Islands, I mean, how can you not? We just need escape right now, like so freaking bad. And I was at a point where I was like, run away. And this was my escape for that. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put myself on a damn island. That's right. And so that's what I did. So yeah. So I have Secret Billionaire, Christmas, breakup escape, because I think that some people just need that. Like when you break up, you just need to let go. And I really enjoy that trope where they're just like, you know what? I've been stuck in a relationship for 2 years and it sucked and I'm all done. I am finally freaking done. And so I love that trope. And so that's in there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So it is Christmassy, breakup trope, Secret Billionaire, tropical island.
There's a brazenness, I think, to a recent breakup too, that is like really fun. That's like a trope of like, I don't give a shaisa. I just got out of a bad relationship.
Do what I want.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to do whatever I want because I can.
Give me those amazing breakup. Oh, you know what? I am letting loose, letting my hair down. I don't care anymore. Yep. And that just shameless. And that I love that. And Cozy definitely goes through a couple evenings of that.
Oh yeah. It's so fun to live with her. Cause vicariously, I'm like an old married woman with kids. So I don't get to do that. So,
and that is what's so fun about reading is that you can fall into that and be like, yeah, I get you. That would be great. I mean, I'm in a super happy, awesome relationship. So I don't get it, but I do. I get it. And so it's just, that is what's so fun about tropes is that you can fall into that and be like, oh, I want to live that life right now. And there you go. Now you have it because it's trope.
So we've talked a lot about some of the things that I think you're really good at. What would you consider your writing superpowers? And then also some limitations, and how have you actively tried to overcome them?
I really do think I'm good at pairing people. I really do enjoy the heck out of pairing couples and pairing, side characters and stuff and making them to where they not necessarily fit, but they're functional and it works. It works for multiple reasons. I also really enjoy playing with emotion. I really like the roller coaster emotions. I like it where it's sad, happy, scary sometimes, and just, all these different emotions that go up and down. I like to just wreck somebody. Give me your tears, readers. That's me. I'm sorry. I just enjoy it. So I like hitting all those emotions. And for me, that was a really hard thing to do when I first started writing, because it was I'm really sad. Just kidding. I'm super happy now. And trying to find those moments to where you can fit all the emotion in and have it logically work, where it's not flippant between your characters, was really, really hard to wrap my brain around, because it can't be I'm happy, I'm sad, work with me here. Come on, people, be happy with me, be sad with me. You have to have a setup. You have to have all these different things in place for people to actually feel something for your work. If you want them laughing hysterically, you probably need them to be a little bit scared or sad at some point. And how do you do that within a work logically? How do you make it where it's not be sad, no, be happy? You have to set your characters up and you have to make them real people, and you have to have them go through these emotions. And everybody handles things differently. So you need people to be on board for how this is affecting somebody, and they can't just flip an emotion and have people along with them in the ride, because that just doesn't make sense. So having them struggle and at the same time be funny has been something I will probably consistently work on through my entire writing life.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
You don't get to tell me yes or no.
Sorry. It's not my podcast. It's not my podcast.
That's right. It's me. Kidding. Of course, it's your podcast.
I would actually, and it's okay if you have to take a second and think, but transitions are something that's so talked about in writing. You're actually talking about emotional transitions, and I don't think that's often discussed. What do you think are some checks that you give yourself to make sure you have a proper emotional transition?
I have to make sure that things are in place to lead to being able to get over something, to make sure that you shift an emotion. It has to be done almost, it's like a chessboard. You have to think 5 steps ahead. So for me, and this comes in in editing and stuff, it's not something I'm going to throw out immediately. So if I do a first draft, I'm this is a really hard, sad point. This is horrible. Okay. All of a sudden she's really happy because this happened. Cool. That's great. Okay. But how did she get from super sad to super happy? And so you have to back that right the heck up way before she actually got sad, to make sure you're leading into how she got happy at the end of being sad. Does that make sense? I mean, it's
no, that's super cupcakes. Smart. It's like the leveling up of cupcakes.
It is. It's emotional cupcakes. It's you have to be this is the person who she or he is. And so she'll be able to get over this. And here's why, way before it hits the part where it's super terrible, so that you can get to the part where it's happy because this happened 5 steps earlier. I'm moving my hands all around in 5,000 directions. I know you can't see as a listener, but that's what's happening.
It looks like she's playing Twister with herself.
I'm just going to say one little thing real quick, and it's all you, Emmy. But that totally makes sense, because if you remember the Carla Hotch interview, she was talking about how in order to have a good fight scene, you have to layer in their motivations before the fight scene happens.
Yes.
So I like the idea that the emotional transition, you have to layer in the reasoning for why that transition is plausible.
Yeah.
Before the emotions. It's the same concept. It's beautiful.
You can't just be like, here's the emotion, because people aren't going to connect with why that emotion is there. They're going to connect with what happened 5 steps earlier because of something else that you've layered in. And then it's going to hit them because it's like, oh my God, this is why it hurts so bad. Okay, but this is why it's okay to get over it. Or this is why she's laughing hysterically. And this is why it hurts somebody else. So it's like, there's just so many different emotional connections. So for me, like that is something that I am constantly working toward, but it's also something I think I'm pretty good at.
I'm trying to think of some examples who do stuff like that. And I'm thinking of like Lynn Kurland and how she breaks her chapters up. I have some beef with the Twilight series, but I also think Stephanie Meyers kind of plays with this a little bit in the Twilight series and giving you what you want and then taking it all away. And she does it in like book breaks instead of chapter breaks. Definitely a awesome skill set to use.
It is. And I definitely think it's one of those, like, it depends on what kind of series you're writing. But I go back and I talk about, I write book 2 and that helps me with book 1. I think if you have a continuation series or like a saga, that it's like knowing what's going to happen a couple books ahead is going to help you in the book that's 2 before that. Because of that exact reason, you're going to be able to set those cupcakes and have that stuff happen that's going to hit 2 books later and just smash the heart of your reader. And that's like what you want to do.
It's like leveling up series writing. It's awesome.
I definitely think that's a series writing thing, is that it's being able to plan for that and drop those in. And sometimes it happens by accident. I mean, we all know that sometimes you end up with just random things that happen. I'm not going to talk about it, but there is a thing in the Simona Island that I just randomly put in. And I was like, I don't know why this is here. It just is. And then later on, I realized it had so much more meaning than I thought it did. And it's like, oh, I just accidentally dropped a cupcake. Sweet. Like that one's staying. That one is staying. And it's just, sometimes you do that, but having those cupcakes and those emotional hits, you really invest your readers. And so, I think it's a chess game. You need to just be moving your emotional pieces all over the place and making sure that stuff is happening logically and for reasons that they might not even know. I mean, but if you're just reading, like, you're not trying to think about it. It's not something that somebody's going to go back and be like, oh, I know exactly what they did here. They did this, they set up this, they did this. Only writers do that when they read. But nonetheless, like, just a reader is going to be like, oh, that hit really hard. It hit really hard because you set it up correctly.
Okay, so this is far from your first rodeo. You actually have your first book, My Song's Curse, and then the second one, My Song's Gift, is in the works. And the first one is available for purchase, but the second one isn't. It will be coming soon. And then now you're working on Holiday Hotel, and you're also working on your next one. So you have some experience under your belt. Can you talk to us about some of the pros and cons of working with a hybrid press?
Yeah, absolutely. I love my press. I'm published through City Owl Press. They are fantastic. And it has been such an interesting journey to try to figure out what works for you as an author. So for me, they have been outstanding in being able to have a support system and be able to do the back end work. I do a lot of the marketing. And they do some marketing as well, but they're not publicizing as much. Like, they do certain things and then I do certain things, but it is definitely a teamwork kind of event per each publication. So that works great for me. Like, I really enjoy that. They have a print on demand. I wish was a little different. I would love to have my books beforehand, but I can't because it's print on demand. And it depends on what you're looking for when you're trying to find something that works for you. There are certain things, it's like that takes some of the control out of your hands. Like, they post your book to places when they post your book to places. It's not something that you have control over. So that's the difference between like the self-publishing. You do all of your own stuff. You control your schedule, you control your calendar, you control everything else. Your hybrid press, you work together as a team. They edit, they copy edit, they proofread. They have awesome authors that jump in, and like, we all talk to each other and help each other and bounce ideas off each other and push each other's work. And it's kind of like just jumping into a support system. It's fantastic, but they're not going to give you boxes of books beforehand for you to sign. And they're not going to set up public events for you to do like a traditional would potentially.
But let's be real with traditional publishers. They're going to do that for like 5% of their listed people.
It depends.
Like, it's not a guarantee.
That is true. I get that completely. So for me, this works wonderfully and I adore them. I think with anybody who's looking at a contract and anybody who's looking at a publisher, I highly, highly, highly recommend saving your pennies for a literary attorney to go over a contract with you if you don't know what you're doing. If you're not an attorney or you don't understand the business yet, I highly recommend getting a literary attorney to review contracts for you. If somebody's offering you a contract, because it is a pretty big thing. I mean, you're talking about working with somebody and then you're joined with them. Like that's what you're doing now. And especially because if you start something with a series, now you're in with them for the next 2, 3, 5, 7, 15 books, because they're going to ask you for your books after that. And with traditional, it's
how could
even
they
more.
screw you over though? Can you talk a little bit about like ways that you can get screw gold, if I'm languaged nicely?
That's a really good question. Well, I mean, obviously if you're signing your copyright over, if you're signing your book over and they can do whatever they want with it, for me, I would not be able to handle that. Some people can. Some people can be like, I'm a ghostwriter, whatever, cool. Do whatever you want to with my book. Here, just give me money and give me royalties when you get money. I'm not like that. I want my name on it. I want to make sure it's still mine. I want to be able to be in the process and not have people be able to make changes without me. So I still have that level of control.
Is that common though? I mean, is that something that comes up where they can take your book?
Yes. There are some contracts that are pretty much like, well, we own your book now. If you want to make a suggestion for editing, then I guess you can, but I don't have to use it. I can change the name. I can change whatever. I'm going to do all this stuff.
Wow.
And I'm going to give you some money. There you go. So, or you're going to pay me for marketing, or you're going to do this. Like you really have to go through these contracts and make sure that you're doing the right thing. I am super happy with where I'm at. I love the press that I'm with. I think they're wonderful.
Yay.
I'm very, very, very fortunate because it was one of those like debut author things where I'm like, dang, this is really good. Are you sure this is good? And I got a literary attorney. He's like, no, dude, this is good. And I'm like, sweet. Okay, cool. This is good. And so he went through every single thing with me. Like he was teaching me in a class about like what this contract meant. And I was like, sweet. Okay. Now I have learned something, and it was totally worth the money I paid in order for somebody to go through that contract with me so that I knew what I was doing on my first round, because now I am linked with them. Like I am a City Owl author, and they look at my stuff and they put contracts on my stuff, and all of my stuff goes through them now for what I'm in right now. Like I can go and I can take another series that I write and send it to somebody else. That's cool. But like the series that I like, Simona Island, is theirs. And like, this is theirs if they want it. And so, it's been a wonderful experience for me. I've really enjoyed the process of it. And I really enjoy that team environment. Like, I don't want to edit my own work. I want somebody else to do it. I don't want to pay for it either, because I can't do that right now. And so for me, it works wonderfully. They have beautiful covers. I would not know what to do with a cover. I have no idea. So I don't know what it takes to do a copyright. Even though it's my copyright, they do that for me. So they do all the back end stuff, and that I have no freaking clue what to do with. And then I get a royalty fee for it. So it works great and I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
One of the hardest things I think with writing is like the confidence factor. And so having that team surrounding you, those people who believe in you, not just because they're your friends or because they like your book, but they believe in you enough to put their money on the table is, that's something, I mean, that really,
it is.
There's not a lot more that can like put the stamp of value on something in this world. Other people whipping out their pocketbook and, shelling out.
And like, we got you.
Cash. Yeah. I mean, we believe.
Taking a chance on you.
Yeah.
I mean, they took a chance on me for that. They didn't know how this is going to sell. They have also, it's a long run thing. It's not like debut authors don't typically do very well. I mean, you're talking your debut author, talking your first year, you might sell under a hybrid or a traditional, you might sell a couple hundred books. They're not looking for that now. They're investing on you because they want books 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because that's when you start making money on book one. They are contracting with you because they're in it for the long haul. And that means something really big to me.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. You enjoy that part of it, but this is my cool cast little segue. So you enjoy having your team behind you. I do. But what is your favorite part?
My favorite part of the entire process?
The whole process. Like you have a book that you have just...
I don't know.
Yeet it out into the universe. What is your favorite part?
Yeeted it.
Mm-hmm.
I love
That's my son. My son, his new favorite word is to yeet. That's his favorite verb.
Love it.
He yeets everything and he says it. Yeah, yeet. He doesn't just
oh my God,
it.
He eats it. Oh my gosh, that's wonderful.
So
that makes me super happy.
When you're getting ready to yeet a book, as the young ones would say, what is your favorite part?
Oh my gosh, I have so many favorite parts. I think for me, okay, obviously I'm completely and utterly obsessed with writing. Creating worlds is like my favorite thing in the entire planet to do. I just freaking love it. But I love the whole process. Like even the processes I thought I would hate, I now love.
Like synopsis writing?
The synopsis, the editing, I'm like, this is all stupid. I freaking hate it. I never want to do it again. And like 2 years later, I'm like, oh my God, I love editing. I'm having so much fun right now. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? This is crazy talk. I'm like, look at me writing my synopsis. I'm querying.
She's shimmying. She's shimmying
I
her
am.
shoulders.
I say this stuff in podcast because Poppy shimmies her shoulders all the time at you guys, and I've never told you guys. Oh my God, you guys have been missing out for so long.
She's like rolling with the homies. Like picture.
It's beautiful.
Brittany Murphy. It's Brittany Murphy from Clueless. She was rolling.
Oh my
with
God,
the
I am.
homies.
I'm doing a Brittany. I am. I do. I'm a mobile talker, so just know that I'm constantly moving when I am chalking. So that's a thing. Yes, I love the whole process. So I'm going to say that the thing that I love the most is that I'm doing something different every day, even though it's all toward the thing that I love the most. Because I am such a chaotic person that I'm not somebody who does something the same way twice. And so for me, being able to write a chapter one day, edit the next day, market the next day, poke at social media the day after that, make some graphics the day after that is so good for my mind. It just works really, really well for me.
Yeah.
There are other people who structure themselves and do well. And I think that's what's so cool about being a creative and being able to create is that you have the control over everything that you're doing and you do what works for you. And being able to jump around and be nuts and just do 5,000 things in a week works for me. So I enjoy that part of it tremendously. And I really love being proven wrong where I think I'm going to hate something. And then a year later, I'm like, no, I freaking love it now. What is wrong with me? I love that. Like prove me wrong myself. I'm talking to myself here.
Well, it's because you've conquered it. It's, you hate it when you don't understand it or you don't feel good at it. But then once you've conquered that problem and you've learned how to do it, which you are, you're just one hill after another. It's nothing feels so good as success.
Gosh, it really doesn't. I'm like, I did that. I made this thing, y'all. I made this thing. And that is really such a fun, like every single step along the path of having a book go to market is just beautiful. It's like, oh my God, I made a first draft.
Yeah.
Best day ever. Oh my gosh, I edited my first draft. Best day ever. Oh my gosh, my edited novel now has a cover. Best day ever. Like, I just love all of it. I'm just such a wackadoo with all of it. It's so much fun.
And that's so important though, to like find those moments and celebrate those successes. Otherwise it can feel like it's a never ending hurdle. Like if you allow your brain to think of it as a hurdle that's always in the distance, then it's an unachievable goal. But if you celebrate those wins, then it's a constant reward system, and that's a feedback loop I want to eat all day long, right? I mean,
it's so good. And the rewards get stronger and they keep going because even when you're first starting out, I mean, your reward can be like, oh my gosh, guys, I made a chapter. And that's like a massive reward.
Yeah.
Like, I made a chapter. And then like, it just gets more and more and more. It just compiles. Like there's no stop to the excitement of finishing whatever it is you just did. I started a website because I have a first draft. Best day ever. There's just this constant reward system for me, always looking at it as something like new that's happening that's super exciting.
That's positive Poppy right there at work. I love it.
I'm so glad.
You mentioned a lot of really interesting information about what your press does and doesn't do. Can you be a little bit more specific on the marketing component? Like, what do you actually do? Like, what's in your day-to-day stuff? What are things tasks that you perform, boxes you check?
Oh man, I have so many marketing. Obviously I know nothing about marketing, so I was still like attempting to like flail my way through marketing. Canva has been a great, I've been just messing around with graphics and stuff like that. So that's been really fun. Posting stuff and just interacting with people. I think it's just, I love, everybody has a different way that they interact with people. So social media, I feel like, is completely and utterly necessary for marketing your book. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're telling everyone to buy your book. It means that you are making friends and that you're coming across other authors. You're starting to do newsletters or a website and stuff like that. So there's different ways that you can brand yourself that I have to do. And I have to there's certain things that I have to remind myself. I'm like, even today I was like, oh, I need to update my website because I have a summer, thing on that. And now it is fall. Oops. And it's like a month over when I should have done it. My bad, but that's just me. So there's certain things that I have to figure out how to do better and how to do consistently. So like a monthly newsletter, and then being able to just figure out what social media platform works best for me. As a photography person, I love Instagram because photography, but I don't bring out my big girl camera anymore as much. I usually just use a phone and just try to make it as pretty as I can. And I really focus a lot on, I'm an avid reader. So if I'm not writing, I'm reading. It's just a thing. I listen to audiobooks when I'm doing dishes. I love to read, and I love to review books, and I love to support other authors because I just think that there's so many incredible books out in the world. And so that is part of my marketing plan. It's not that I am like, I'm going to do this so I get marketing. It's that I'm going to do this because I freaking love it and I can't not do it. So that is part of it as well. So I really enjoy the photography aspect, the reviewing aspect on Goodreads. I like connecting with other authors on Twitter with quirky, whimsical things to say and random, hashtag writer challenges. Like Friday Kiss is so much fun for me. I just love it. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do this week when they give me a random word? And it's just, you can find stuff like that in your genre. And that is just such a fun connected point to other authors. And I've always been a social person, but I know that some people are not. And so it's kind of difficult to wrap your head around the fact that it's like, why would I be like being social with authors when I'm looking for readers? Because guess what? Authors read like a lot. Like we read like freaking, do you read, Emmy?
No, I'm kidding. I read a lot. Just kidding. Yeah. Authors read more than anyone. I have worked with a publicist who literally was like, authors are a great demographic. Romance authors are your demographic if you're selling a romance book. Anyone who has ever read a romance novel and loved it has gone on to read many, many more. And a large percentage of them go on to attempt to write a romance novel. So yes, authors are a great demo.
Yes. So going through and being social with authors is what I do, but it's because I really enjoy it as well. And I can't stop talking about books and looking at books and reading books and writing books. So that is like my world now. So that's part of my marketing plan because it's easy. I try to do the stuff that's easy for me. Just figuring that out now. When you first start out, you're told that you have to do this, you have to do Facebook, and you have to do, all the platforms, and you have to do constant stuff. And I think it just depends on what you are able to do and not hate it. If you want to go dance around with books, then go on TikTok. That's
TikTok
awesome.
will love you.
They will love the crap out of you. But if you're not that person, then maybe go on Twitter. There is something out there for everybody on social media. And it's just a matter of just being social. And so for me, like my marketing stuff, I'm still figuring it out. It's not something that I mean, it's going to morph and adapt as I continue. Newsletters are difficult for me, but I still do them because I think they're really important. So it just depends on what you like. That is what's working for me in my marketing plan. And then obviously just making friends with authors, because authors, when you make friends with them, and it is not to do it for the purpose of your own success, but like making friends with authors because authors are awesome and because they come out with super great books and you want to read their stuff, and you find somebody that has the stylistically the same as you are and you make friends with them because it's like, oh my gosh, people who read your stuff are going to read my stuff. And look at us, we're all just reading. And it's just really, really great. So I really enjoy making friends with authors and sharing their things and being happy in their successes too, because it's like, look at you doing awesome things. Oh my gosh, like I'm on the process of doing awesome things too. And we're all doing awesome things. And this is just the greatest day ever. So, okay, we'll go back to my greatest things ever. This is one of those process things that I thought I would hate tremendously. And I obviously do not.
And it's also the beauty of Poppy.
I get very excited.
Very positive. We have a reader question to get through now. And this is a fan response to the Poppy Wars. They want to know, what is your theme song and why?
Oh man. Okay, so a theme song is created to be a theme for a show. So if it were like a theme song for me, obviously I'm not going to give you one because it would have to be created, right? So I don't have like a theme song that's already out there. So my theme song would end up being like this super happy. Oh, we're gonna start out all nice. And
she's
sweet
grooving
and great
again.
and stuff.
She's
And then
rolling with the
I'm grooving again.
Yeah.
I'm grooving for you. And then it would go into some badass screamo, like or like curses and stuff like that, because I am all over the place. Like I am everywhere, and I want to shock and be surprised at everything that happens. So, and then it's going to go back into like happy, awesome music again, because that is just fantabulous. And so that is going to end up being my theme song. It's probably something about, persistence.
So Sound of Music and then Viking Ambiance on YouTube.
Bingo. Yeah. That you nailed it.
I like it.
So if somebody wants to write me a theme song, I am all about it.
Angry Viking men screaming at the world.
Yes. Bingo.
I love it.
Yes.
I don't know a person who wouldn't answer that question with like an actual taking the time to pick a song, but she's married to this amazing man who actually is a sound editor and creates his own music. So her mind is like, here's the elements of it.
Yeah. Theme songs are great.
Okay. Then I think Emmy has a really important end of the road process question to ask.
Oh yeah. What's that?
If you could give one metaphor for the writing process, this is payback.
Oh no.
What is your metaphor for the writing process?
Oh my gosh. Okay. My metaphor. I love metaphors, by the way.
I love so much that like this is our ending interview thing and you have to deal with it now. It's like such poetic justice.
I know. It made me I was like, I'm putting that in. Listeners, this is a secret, and Cass probably doesn't want me to tell you this. She was like, do you have to do the metaphor? And Poppy earlier today was like, I have the metaphor to come up with. And I was like, it is staying. The metaphor is not going. And yes, Poppy, you have to edit the sound on me right now because I am loud and excited. But the metaphor is something I will inflict on both of you. And when Cass publishes her book, I will ask her to name her metaphor.
Yes, metaphors. Oh, okay.
Yeah, bring it.
My metaphor for writing. I think a metaphor for writing is you are building a house. When you think about it, you have different ways of building a house. You could be an architect and you could plan your house out and you can put your house up and that's your house. And sometimes you put your house up and it leans over and falls over and you have to rebuild it again. But nonetheless, you're building a house. So, and what's so cool about your house is that you build your bones first. You can't just have a house. You can't just say like, here's my house and there it is. You have to build it in the structure and the inner bones first. So you have to put up, your reeds, you have to put up all of your wooden components and your concrete, and you have to like create this foundation and you have to make this house. And then you put in your walls, and then you put in your exteriors, and you put in your windows, and you put in all of these rooms that you've created, and you've gone through this process of making this house for you that's going to work super, super great, that you just love this house. And then you put paint on your walls, and you put down carpet, or you put down hardwood, and you define it. And so every single step that you do, it's not something that you just do overnight. You can't just make a house. So you have to go through and you have to do each one of these steps in order. You have to have your bones, you have to have your walls, you have to have your paint, and you go through and you put pictures on your wall and you make it this really beautiful, defined house that is just somebody can walk through and be like, God, this is one glorious freaking house. And so you go through and you make it yours, and it's what you love, and you just love this house. And you know that other people are going to walk in and be like, oh my God, this is a great house. And some people are going to walk in and be like, dude, I would not have painted that wall avocado, but you know what? You do you. And so that's okay because you love that house and that's yours. And so for me, my metaphor is you are building a house when you are writing your book, and this is your house and you're going to live in it. And it's going to be beautiful. And you have to take it step by step, because otherwise you have to have a strong foundation. You have to have strong bones, and you can do so much with it when you have that. So
Nailed it.
There's my metaphor.
I loved it. No,
All right. That was hard. So go decorate your damn house and make it a really, really pretty.
it's fun to almost think of it like the tropes are the rooms too. Because like rooms are optional. You don't have to have a library.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a dining room. You can eat at the counter, the island counter. But like, it's really fun to think of it that way. I love it.
It took a lot of brain power. It hurt my head a little bit.
Guys, this has been so much fun. So, Holiday Hotel, you can go buy it now. Go to it.
I didn't know that. I'm so excited.
I want to actually also give a big thanks to Emmy. So there's a little bit of full circle happiness for us right now. Emmy is the first interview that we had ever in Punch Keys. She is in our writing group. She's super close and personal to us. So having her come in and win Poppy Time and come in and interview us, it was the most comfortable, natural feeling for us. It was someone who just belongs in our crew. And don't be surprised if you see Emmy in more episodes because we adore her so much.
Because she's amazing and we love her and she's an awesome human being and an incredible writer.
I will always list whenever we're interviewing. You'll have a link to Holiday Hotel. You will have a link to Poppy's website, which have you not checked it out already? Naughty, naughty.
Check it out.
We will also have links to Emmy's website, to Emmy's books, because her stuff is fabulous. There's a reason we love her so much. Writing is beautiful. Her mind is beautiful. Her encouragement and creativeness and joy is just fantastic. And so we're going to share that. And don't worry, I'm going to do keywords always per every episode. So make sure you check out all of the links, all of the information. I will, of course, tag stuff like I always do and give you links so you know. And as always, if you want to come on and talk to us and support Poppy in her book release, obviously buy the book. Come join our Discord group. Emmy is actually in our Discord group as well, so you get a chance to talk to her because, my gosh, guys, she's awesome.
She's awesome. Thank you for having me, Emmy.
Okay, fine. Because you guys are so nice, I'll undo your duct tape and your zip ties and let you have your podcast back. Not that I want to.
I mean, not that we wouldn't like find our own way to escape. We are really sneaky and tricky. I promise you, we would figure it out.
Right.
Are resourceful.
All right. So thank you everyone for listening. Check out the links. Support our lovely writer tribe. Join us on Discord. Write a review because, I don't know, maybe you're listening because you like us, so you want to write a review. And in the meantime, keep punching the damn keys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And if you liked this episode, please subscribe and give us that clickable 5-star love.
Got writer questions or feedback? Reach out through our website. And until next time, make sure to punch the keys.